Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the Sonics are likely coming back to Seattle, but can the new ownership group actually save us from Bob Ferguson's income tax? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
We are winning the war in Iran by leaps and bounds. So why does it sometimes feel like we're losing? Let's go over the facts as we know them and what's happening and how this is affecting us here in Seattle, because I'm curious if you still support the war. Anytime I've asked that question, overwhelmingly, the phone lines, the text lines blow up and everybody says yes. But yesterday, I was driving here to the station. And I wasn't driving the Batmobile. I was driving a car that my friends over at Renton, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram lent me. It's a new Jeep. It's a new Jeep Cherokee, and it's a hybrid. And that guy, I think I've had it for a month now, and this is the first time I've had to fill up the gas tank. And I'm thankful for that, because if I had to be filling it up once a week like I do with my Batmobile, then that would have gotten pretty costly by now. To fill up the Batmobile, I think would probably be over $90 these days. But with the hybrid, $90, let's say it's $90 for an entire month, that actually comes out ahead. It's a pretty awesome car. But you understand what this is doing to the average American. It's a lot of money what's happening at the gas pump. Now, in the long run, if that gas is free flowing and you don't have to worry about Iran anymore, this is going to be a long-term win. Let's go over the facts of what's happening on the ground right now. Because when you hear the Pentagon is deploying 3,000 elite 82nd Airborne troops to the Middle East, immediately you start going, oh my God, boots on the ground. Here is what is happening. For weeks before the attack on Iran, when we started bombing the you-know-what out of them, units were being deployed to the Middle East. You should have seen Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, which is one of our allies, because we were taking assets out of Qatar. We were moving them to Ben Gurion. It looked like a U.S. military base because so much stuff was there. Tankers, you name it. And that's a commercial airport. That's their version of SeaTac. Everything was there ready to go. When I was in Israel a couple of years ago, when Joe Biden said he wasn't sending assets to the region, let me tell you something. There were assets all over that region. I saw them in restaurants. I saw them everywhere. They weren't wearing the U.S. gear, but you knew who they were with. And if you talked to them, you knew who they were with. They were with the U.S. military. They were subcontractors. They were people who were helping out in an unofficial capacity. There was a lot going on. When the Pentagon says they are deploying 3,000 elite 82nd Airborne troops to the Middle East, it does not mean they are going to Tehran. It means they are moving pieces into place in case they are needed later. And this is what President Trump does. He does this to negotiate from a position of strength, peace through strength. He was negotiating with Iran before we started bombing them this cycle and saying, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we have all these assets all over the Middle East. You've seen the video. And we are going to blow the crap out of your country. And Ayatollah, you're going bye-bye. And that's exactly what they did. This is the next round of that. And what they're saying here is, you want to keep your oil? You want to have a possibility of an economy? Or do you want us running your country? Or do you want Saudi Arabia running your country? Or anybody else running your country? Then deal with us. The U.S. laid out a 15-point plan for Iran to stop all this. And it was basically give up your nukes, agree to dismantle the nuclear facilities, agree to stop sponsoring terror, the basic stuff, the normal stuff. Shut down your ballistic missile program, basic things like that. And Iran rejected it because who knows who's actually running Iran anymore. Here's the status of the country. Their Air Force, gone. It wasn't much to begin with because they were basically working with old F-14 Tomcats, which are museum pieces now at this point. For those of you who grew up watching Top Gun, realize Top Gun came out in 1986. Okay? That's when those things were state of the art. We're all old. If you like Top Gun and the original one, not Maverick, and you haven't had a colonoscopy, it's time to do so. Sorry to sugarcoat it that way. We are all old. Okay, moving on from there. So they don't have an Air Force. They don't have a Navy anymore. But Ari, what about all this talk about the Strait of Hormuz? There's two things going on with the Strait of Hormuz. One, when you have the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, running everything, some lunatic with a rocket launcher can just stand there on shore and fire it at a ship. And ships are afraid to go. You also have the IRGC trying to charge ships tolls and saying, if you don't pay our toll, that guy with the rocket launcher over there is going to take out your really, really big ship. So the shipping is kind of less than it really should be. And people and the ships are afraid. The countries are afraid to send their ships through there. So now you've got a problem because a fifth of the world's oil supply goes through there, and that's shooting up gas prices. It shouldn't be shooting up ours. There are things we can do to address that, but unfortunately, they're not doing them. So the allies that we have, including from Europe and especially from the Middle East, are now saying, yep, we're going to come help you. Now, the reason Saudi Arabia is getting involved is because Saudi Arabia goes, number one, we don't want those psychos in the Iranian regime having nuclear weapons. The whole basis for the Abraham Accords was that Iran was a really big threat. So if everybody allies together against Iran and allies with Israel and each other, then guess what? We can fend off an Iranian attack. And let's not forget that the October 7th attack occurred. One of the reasons Iran gave the go-ahead to their proxies to attack Israel was they were worried about Saudi Arabia entering the Abraham Accords. Well, now President Trump and MBS, the ruler of Saudi Arabia, are saying, we're going to come for Karg Island, if you want to pronounce it correctly. We're going to come for the island where all the gas is if you don't do what we want. Now, an oil-rich country, if you have that much oil, that could be a huge resource. You can export it. Instead, what did Iran do with all the money? They said, we're going to fund terror. And that's what they did. So what Trump and MBS are saying right now, if you play ball with us, we'll remove the sanctions, and you guys can be a normal country, give up terror, give up being psychopaths. We're not even asking you to be a democracy. Just turn things around, and we won't blow up your oil, or worse yet, we won't take your oil. That's basically the choice in front of the Iranians right now. The Iranians have never made the right choice because they're a psychotic, fanatical death cult. And they say, you know what? The next president might be Gavin Newsom. And the lizard man will play ball with us. And if the lizard man is like Barack Obama, then he'll just give us billions of dollars and we can do whatever the hell we want. So all we got to do is wait out the orange-haired man. That's all we need to do. And when the orange man is gone, then we might have a Democrat. Hey, the orange man might not have a party anymore after the midterm elections. They are trying to drag this on as long as they can. So there are three wars going on right now. There's the actual military campaign, there's the political war, and there's the PR war. That's what's happening right now. And you got to start wondering which ones were winning and which ones were losing. So, the military campaign itself, we are without a doubt winning. Their entire leadership is gone. Absolutely gone. Done. Dead. Gonzo. Destroyed. Regime change. In fact, a reporter today was asking the press secretary about this.
Regime change in Iran. Because the regime has changed in terms of.
Has it not?
Well, the leadership.
Their entire leadership has been killed, and nobody has really seen or legitimately heard from this alleged new leader. So, wouldn't you say there's been a change in the regime?
There's been a change in leadership. I mean, do you feel as though
there's been a change in the regime leadership, which is what the president said. So, thank you for confirming he was right.
I mean, do you feel as though you've achieved leadership level or the personnel in place.
Okay, that guy doesn't know how to respond after that. She's right. So their entire leadership gone. Now, it's a dangerous thing when you have a country without a leader, because then whatever warlord can then be running the strait or have a rocket launcher.
The guy almost has a point and he doesn't know it.
Exactly. He just didn't get to the point. So here's the question. Ready for the question? If you took out the regime and the regime is gone, who exactly are you negotiating with? And how do you know they have the power to promise you anything? For example, a lot of people, because the Iranians are split up, I should differentiate. Let's call the Iranians who are here in the U.S. Persians, just to differentiate between the two. So I go to these rallies with the Persians, and some of them are chanting for the Shah to come back. Some of them want democracy. Lots of them want different things. The Shah's son, who is still alive, is saying, I'll take the throne, I'll take it, but he's not in Iran. Are you negotiating with him? Who are you negotiating with?
It's not a remote work situation.
Exactly.
It's not a hybrid schedule.
Exactly. You want to be in charge? You got to be there. So that's the question I have. Who are you negotiating with? And I used to make these jokes all the time about Hamas, about Hezbollah, about all the different terrorist organizations. When you take out the leadership, who are you negotiating with exactly? And when you don't have a leader, that makes things a little bit more complicated, because who's actually going to tell the troops to stand down? And with a fanatical death cult, why would they actually listen? The guy was so close to a real question, couldn't quite get there. Yes, there has been a regime change. So here's the real question. How are those talks going, and who are you talking to?
They have not. Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual. So I am not going to negotiate on behalf of the president here at the podium. What I will tell you is these talks are ongoing. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details that have been exchanged between the United States and Iran at this time.
So that's actually refreshing, and let me tell you why. It'd be really, really easy for President Trump to say, here's what we're negotiating, here's what we're doing, but if you negotiate in public, you lose, which is why Joe Biden's administration lost all the time. That's actually encouraging, and we may not know everything that's going on and who they're negotiating with. But the press secretary made it very, very clear that they're actually negotiating with the remnants of the IRGC leadership and the remnants of the regime itself.
The United States military continues to decimate the terrorist Iranian regime's offensive and defensive capabilities. Just over 3 weeks in, it's abundantly clear that Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding military triumph. More than 9,000 enemy targets have been struck to date. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile attacks and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 140 of their naval vessels, including almost 50 mine layers. This is the largest elimination of a navy over a 3-week period since World War II. Again, let me reiterate, this is the largest elimination of a navy on the face of the planet in a 3-week period since World War II. We are systematically dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent future threats to the region. Our military also remains laser-focused on eliminating the regime's threat to the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the weekend, we dropped several 5,000-pound bombs on an underground facility used to store equipment, including anti-ship cruise missiles and mobile missile launchers positioned along the coastline of the strait. Our military efforts grow more successful with each passing day, steadily degrading Iran's ability to terrorize merchant ships. For all of these reasons, we are very close to meeting the core objectives of Operation Epic Fury, and this military mission continues unabated.
So that basically can be summed up by death, death, horrible death. That's how that can be summed up. They are defeated. They are almost completely done. And we did it in a month. But there are the two other wars. So the Democrats, it's like somebody issued them a memo Talk about gas prices. Take pictures of gas prices. Talk about gas prices. You know, we have nuanced conversations on the show here about gas prices, about why they're up. And yet I still do not see a single Democrat locally talking about that close to $1.50 of the reason your gas is so high, where mine was $5.59 the other day, is because of the Democrat taxes, the road taxes, the Climate Commitment Act, you name it. $1.50 of that. Now, mind you, it's not a lot to say, well, your gas will still be $4 a gallon. There's other reasons behind that. But $1.50 of what you are paying at the pump right now is because of the taxes. Adam Smith is the worst one, the absolute worst one, because he never said one damn word when gas prices were up, when Joe Biden canceled the Keystone XL pipeline or any other time, and he never said anything about the Climate Commitment Act, nothing. In fact, Michael Baumgartner called him out for it. In fact, I'm having a lot of fun ratioing his tweets where he gets like 12 likes on him and I get 750 because what he says is so stupid. But there is a PR problem, because not everybody is looking at this long term, and a lot of people are going, what do I have to do with Iran? Then there's the PR problem. And the PR problem is not just because of gas prices and not just because of the Democrats, it's because of the podcast first crowd. The amount of people on the right who are screaming and yelling about this is minimal, but they are loud. And they sound just like the Democrats. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, any of these Looney Tunes, they sound just like the Democrats. Now, the good news is the polling is showing that the majority of people in Republican land are not listening to them. But people who are independents and Democrats, a lot of whom voted for Donald Trump and Republicans in the last election, will say, see, even the right is doing it. When I saw Saturday Night Live make fun of Tucker Carlson the other night, I said, I know exactly what's happening here. They're trying to paint him as a legit voice for the conservative movement, even though he's glorifying China, even though he's glorifying Russia, even though he's demonizing the United States, even though he's talking about how we shouldn't have attacked Iran. We can go on and on and on and on, but it only gives fodder to the other side. When you look around at the complete picture of what's happening here, what did we say when we first started this? A lot of you, when we ask this question, do you still support the war? What did you say at the beginning? What do you say in the middle? What do you say at the end? You say, I support it. I don't want boots on the ground. I support it. I don't want boots on the ground. And yet 3,000 boots are on their way to ground nearby. Does that mean they're taking out the oil? Does that mean they're going after that? Because guess what? If the regime doesn't have oil, they don't have money, they're done anyway. And I don't think their primary focus right now is the oil. They're just done. It's over. Forget about it. And the U.S. will take it, or Saudi Arabia will take it, or whoever. But a lot of you drew the line there. So I'm asking the question again. Do you want the boots on the ground in Kharg Island? Would you support that? Is that your line? Are your gas prices the line? Or is it, you look at the long-term objectives of this war, you look where it's heading, and you say we could have a fundamental reshaping of the entire oil-based economy system because of this on the other end of it. But you got to get through the PR stuff right now. You got to get through that right now. For a comparison, we saw what happened with the war between Iran and Israel. Iran's proxies all fell. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels, you name it, all done. And yet Israel's polling went down, 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 even though they had won a 7-front war, because the PR operation against it was so extensive. So look at what's happening here. You have a massive PR operation, which the Democrats are helping with, against this war, even though on the other side things may be better because it's Donald Trump. For whatever other reason, they keep saying endless war, endless war, endless war. They keep saying that. Has it shaken your resolve? I want to know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And be prepared to answer this question. What is your line for this thing? Do you have a line for this thing? I'm very, very curious about that. Let us know. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. In good news, though, my friends, it looks like the Sonics are on their way back to Seattle. However, there's some math that needs to be done and some pieces that fall into place. And can they stop the income tax? I'll tell you all about it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. You guys blew up my text line again about the war. So we'll get to that in just 1 second. Remember, we're taking your opinions on what your red line is. Should Trump keep going? Text or call us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. But before we get to the text line, before we get to the phone line, the other news of the day, the Sonics are likely coming back to Seattle. Now, what this means is the NBA said they are exploring bringing the Sonics back to Seattle. That means what concessions can they get out of local government to get the Sonics back here, and does the math work for the NBA owners? Now, we have a unique insight into all this here on the Ari Hoffman Show because we got some insider documents from Ferguson's office. So from those documents, the NBA said, quote, they need state assistance could be critical particularly in securing a practice facility, which is a key consideration for the commissioner. We know this thing is supposed to be up in Northgate, North Seattle, which is where the Kraken Iceplex is. They want it over there. Does that mean they want the government to pay for this? Does that mean they just want easier zoning permits? What do they want? Because I'm not in favor of spending taxpayer money on this. I'm not. As much fun as I think it would be to have a basketball team here, the math never pencils out on that. It just doesn't. So, what about that? The high cost of maintaining a basketball team, that goes with any franchise. Las Vegas has that too. The impact of employer layoffs, meaning fewer employees equals fewer ticket sales. Well, with the capital flight we have going on right now, with the companies leaving, 33% office vacancy rate in downtown Seattle, a decline of 58% in the value of that real estate, billions of dollars, you got a problem here. Does that mean they offset that with tax breaks? Challenges posed by the millionaires tax on recruiting top players. By the way, Bob Ferguson still hasn't signed the millionaires tax. It'd be very entertaining to me if the thing that derails the millionaires tax, the income tax, is the Sonics. Because the new owner says, well, the only way we're going to do this is if you don't sign that income tax, if you veto the sucker. That would be fun. Whether Seattle remains an attractive and investor-friendly environment, noting recent investor relocations to Florida. Okay. Now, does this mean tax carve-outs? Does it mean exemptions? Does it mean taxpayer subsidies? The NBA has the upper hand in the negotiations because they can always say to any government official, let's say Bob Ferguson, so news is out there that it's Seattle and Las Vegas. What you going to do for us? Because either you're going to win your next election because of us or you're going to lose it. It's really that simple. It's really that. And you think Turd Ferguson wouldn't give them whatever they want for the basketball team? Whatever it is? Of course they would. So you got to think about that. It would basically be give us everything we want, and you get all the credit. Refuse, and you get all the blame for the Sonics not coming back. You know who the saddest person is in Seattle today? Bruce Harrell. Bruce Harrell's crying into his Fruit Loops because he wanted them back more than anybody. Now, the other math is to buy a franchise. The two new ownership groups in Las Vegas and Seattle will fork over billions of dollars to buy the franchise, just like somebody wants to open a McDonald's. You can't just say, hey, McDonald's, can you sign off on this? No, you got to pay McDonald's for all the licensing rights. So these guys got to pay billions of dollars for that. Each current owner can make somewhere in the range of $230 million for these two teams. However, they have to weight that against splitting up the media and streaming rights going forward. And if the new markets will bring in enough revenue to fill the gap of splitting the pie by two more pieces. There's a lot of moving parts here. The NBA for sure has the upper hand, but we found out that Samantha Holloway, just before we went on air today, she's the owner of the Kraken. She's the one who told Bob Ferguson all of these were concerns. I assume she has the inside track on getting the team. She is formally bidding on buying the franchise, which means all the concerns listed from Samantha Holloway to Bob Ferguson are the potential new owner of the Sonics concerns. That means Samantha Holloway has concerns about the millionaire tax, as she calls it. We know it as the income tax. Could the Sonics coming here stop the income tax? Truly fascinating to watch. Or is it going to be one of those things, look, put it in a drawer for a few years. You were going to do this anyway. Bring it back in 2027, 2028, 2029. Do that. We get the Sonics back and you can have your tax. What concessions are they making that we don't know to get the Sonics back?
Hot dogs, corn dogs, popcorn.
Well, there's that too.
Those are the concessions they're making.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. No, Zach, you are wrong, sir. It's going to be, how do you keep away the guys who sell hot dogs? That's what it's going to be. Those concessions. We know you have a problem with them food cart guys. They're a menace to society. How are you going to keep them away from Clyde?
My concession confessions.
That's what it is. Very good. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Pam in Redmond. Pam, what's going on?
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to call to answer your question that you've asked on our opinion on how far should we go in regards to Iran. My opinion is that we should go until the Islamic Republic is destroyed. It's gone. As far as Reza Pahlavi being willing to go in as a transition person, it's not that he wants to go and have the monarchy again.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be the person who does the transition to a humanity first democracy for the people of Iran. And that would be so beneficial to not only the entire Middle East, it would be to the world to get that theocracy stranglehold that they have on those people.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but people still got to listen to the guy, right? He can't just show up and say, I'm your king, worship me. He can't just say, I'm your transitional government, obey me. He can't just do that. I mean, Nelson Mandela becoming the leader of South Africa was a thing. And maybe it goes that way. Maybe it does. But you have to look at, you have to be there, you have to do it, and I think we all want that to happen. You're 100% right that this could be global changing. And by the way, Pam, everybody on the text line, with one or two exceptions, agrees with you. Keep going, keep going,
okay,
keep
good.
going. Pam, great feedback. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be...
They freed him already.
Thank you, Zach. Perfect timing on that one. This one here from the 253. I'm all in it to win it, boots and all. Send my fellow Marine Corps brothers and sisters, turn them loose. From Karen, yes, Trump should keep going in Iran. This one here, take all the oil and all the money it will generate for us and will balance our global trillions in debt budget. This one here, the PR operation is domestic terrorism. It's treason. This one from Kurt in Kirkland. Imagine if we had this amount of PR operation against the administration in the first months of removing Saddam Hussein, against the administration taking out Osama bin Laden. This one here, somebody says, Pam is 100% right on everything. This is, I mean, guys, you look at all these things, it seems like you guys have not wavered at all, except for Matthew in Auburn. Matthew says, the war has made my gas more expensive and my family more fearful of a retaliatory terror attack. War equals bad. Hey, we go with the naysayers here. That's fine. I understand that. But one thing I'll say, Matthew, is, yeah, you have to worry about a terror attack here. I'm not going to downplay that at all, especially not me. But isn't it better that we're fighting a lot of them over there than over here? Just think about that for a second. It looks like you guys have tons of support for this thing. This one here from the 425. This is not a war. This is a surgical military operation that needs time. I would agree with that. This is why I asked you guys what your line is, and it seems, if anything, you're more supportive of the war than it used to be, because it used to be no boots on the ground, no boots on the ground, no boots on the ground, no boots on the ground. Now it's, well, if they're going to that ground over there, I'm okay with that ground over there, or do whatever it takes. Seems like that has actually only increased a lot of your resolve.
Yeah, it's a surgical operation, one that goes sideways, and then you end up on the operating table for 18 hours.
Well, see, that's where I disagree with you. This is where I know you and I have the back and forth on this. I think the military operation is going fine. I think the one mistake that they have made so far is not counting on them shutting down the strait. I think that should have been factored in. The military operation itself, I see, as they would say in Mortal Kombat, flawless victory. I mean, it's one of those things that you're doing. I mean, for what's happened so far, this is, I mean, it's sad when you lose American lives in any war. Unfortunately, I hate to sound cold-hearted about this. It's calculated in when you do that. It's called a force depletion. How many people you're going to lose if you do something like that. And the American casualties, every loss of life is tragic, but they have been minimal. So the thing here is that the PR war, not great. And the cost to Americans here, not great. The political cost, not great. Those are the things that have to be mitigated. The war itself, I think we're doing pretty good on that. And in fact, you know what else we're doing pretty good on? ICE at the airports, ICE helping out DHS, and the left is losing its mind. When we come back, they're only doubling down on their rhetoric against ICE, even as all their fears were disproven. We'll tell you what's going on. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So, little programming note, I actually am going to the airport tonight because tomorrow I am actually speaking at the Arizona State University the University of Arizona campus tomorrow. And I'm actually sitting out there doing one of those Ask Me Anything booths as well. I'm going to be out there for 5 hours.
The only other school that gave me an acceptance letter outside of UW.
I didn't apply to those places, but I probably should have. Would have had a better time. Probably would have saved a lot of money, too.
It's not ASU.
Okay. So, ASU's only like an hour and a half away, so it'll be fine. So,
Yeah, if you leave ASU, you shouldn't be driving.
oh, that's a very fair point. So, why do I mention this? Because after the show today, I got to go to SeaTac. I've been keeping an eye on the wait times over with the TSA. And so far, I don't say knock on wood. We say thank God, Kanai Nahara, whatever the case may be, is that so far everything looks like it's going to be okay and I'm going to be fine. But a lot of other travelers are not. Now, in some airports where they've sent ICE in to help, things have gotten a lot better. In some other ones, they haven't, which means they need to call in more resources like, the National Guard or something. And right now, what's happening is you realize the Democrats are keeping part of the government shut down because they're trying to protect illegal alien criminals. I think it's important that we recognize and remember exactly why we need ICE, why we need border security. This is Joe Abraham. He's the angel father of Katie Abraham, who details the story of his daughter's death because of an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden.
Every parent in this room understands that there are moments in life that split time in two. Everything before and then everything after. For me, that moment came January 19th, 2025. Before that day, I was a father watching my children grow into adulthood, enjoying the simple privilege of seeing their lives unfold. After that day, I became a father who buried his 20-year-old daughter. So before I begin, I want you to picture something pretty ordinary. A car sitting at a red light idle. 5 young friends inside, talking, laughing, having a normal night. My daughter Katie was in the back seat. Car wasn't moving, it was at a red light. In a single instant, my daughter's life was gone. An intoxicated illegal immigrant slammed into the back of her car at 80 miles an hour. They never saw that coming. First responders fought to pull my daughter's dead body out of that car. She didn't survive. The man who caused the crash, Julio Cucobol, a Guatemalan national who had already been deported, ran but was eventually captured in Milford, Texas, trying to escape the country. Despite federal authorities knowing who he was able to re-enter the United States in 2022 and live in Illinois under a false identity because state policies and enforcement gaps fail to protect the public.
This story resonated with me for two reasons. One is a personal one. In college, a few friends of mine and I, we drove up to Brandeis University for the weekend from New York. And we had a car full of supplies, and we were there for the weekend, and we were coming back. And I was sitting in the back seat, and I was watching the Johnny Depp Penelope Cruz movie on a portable DVD player with my friends in the back. The car's packed in. We're watching Blow, the drug dealer movie. You've seen that one? And all of a sudden, the whole car slams forward. We got hit by an 18-wheeler mega truck in the middle of the night on the freeway. There was so much luggage in the back, it kind of cushioned the impact, and we kind of got sent off the freeway, and the truck just kept on going. We pulled over, looked over the thing, and said, how the hell did we survive that? It was a miracle. Truly a miracle. It could have ended the other way. It could have ended like the story with Katie. But it also resonated for another reason. He's talking about Illinois' policies. He's talking about Chicago's policies. And we just had the murder of 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman by a suspect who's an illegal alien. This is what the Democrats want to continue to allow. This is what they want to continue to allow. You know what's crazy to me? Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, the big abolish ICE guy, He had a press conference today, literally today, with a big snowplow truck behind him, which said abolish ICE on the truck. And he literally had a press conference today, just days after this girl is killed, after we find out it's an illegal alien. He got asked about this at the press conference today.
Did you reconsider rescheduling this event given the murder of Sheridan Gorman by an undocumented immigrant?
Well, look, as I've said before, my condolences to the family of Sheridan. This is a terrible tragedy. And what I've said from the very beginning, I'm going to continue to use every single tool that's available to me to protect the residents of the city of Chicago. And this tragedy is not going to deter us from our work. In fact, it's going to challenge us all to double down on our efforts to ensure that we are protecting every single individual across neighborhoods.
So a girl is killed by an illegal alien, and your response is to abolish the agency that could have kept her alleged murderer out of the country. How is that protecting everybody's safety? How is it? Well, I guess to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. That's his thinking. People are now calling on him to resign because that was so poorly timed, because that was so cold-hearted of what he did. That's what they're calling for right now. This guy is so out of touch, but he's committed to the cause, which is let in the illegals, let in the illegals, let in the illegals. That's what he wants. Absolutely insane. The cause, the progressive insanity. We got our own progressive insanity locally. We don't need to turn to Chicago for that. We had a trans day of visibility in our very own state of Washington. And some drama came with the proclamation. Tell you about this insanity when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So, I'm sorry, I'm laughing already just at the story of how ridiculous it is. There's a social media firestorm about a transgender day of visibility. There's a proclamation about the city of Bothell, Washington, passing the Trans Day of Visibility, affirming people's gender identity, whatever it is, affirming that. Okay. One of the people in the shirt, as they're proudly holding up this proclamation, which you can't read, which you can't see, which you can't anything, just go, who are these weirdos that are holding up this proclamation? One of them is wearing a shirt that is saying, immigrants are not criminals, but the president is. How much virtue signaling can you get in one picture? The city celebrated the proclamation in a Facebook post, thanking amazing community partners and emphasizing the importance of people feeling heard and seen as your authentic self. So the mayor then chimes in on this. And he says, Mayor of Bothell here, I see this post has attracted a lot of folks, mostly from somewhere else, who seem upset that in Bothell we acknowledge the inherent dignity and humanity of our neighbors. Personally, I've never felt that what other people have in their pants is any of my business. Stop. That's literally what you're talking about here. You say it's none of your business, and yet you're holding up a proclamation talking about it. He says, but I can see that there are some of you who feel it's your business, which is pretty weird. You know what I think is pretty weird? That you're wasting time on this nonsense. I assume Bothell has problems like any other city does, and you guys are spending the time on this. No wonder it went viral. Also, here's something else, dude. Getting in the comments of these, so-and-so has entered the chat, doesn't usually end so well for the person who does. And on social media, it really didn't here. It really didn't. I mean, this is virtue signaling nonsense. Does it accomplish anything? We see transgender people all the time. In fact, we do mail votes on them, right? Isn't that what the Seattle Times calls it?
Mail by vote.
Mail by vote. That's what it is. That's what they called it the other day. Mail by vote. That was a fun typo. Yeah, they did correct it later, by the way. But yes, it was mail by vote.
Probably because we said we're going to start gambling on.
Oh, is that a mail over there? Oh, I don't know. Let's take a quick vote.
2 votes say yes.
Yeah. That's just, ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous stuff. These are not serious people. These are not serious people with this nonsense. I mean, so a guy shows up and he says, I'm a pirate. And you got to call me Captain Jack Sparrow. And he does that at the meeting. Do you call him Captain Jack Sparrow? These are mental health problems, and they're not being treated as mental health problems. They're being treated as something to affirm. How far do you want to take this? How far do you really want to take this? Anybody thinks there's something they're not, and you want to affirm that identity. You want to affirm how they feel.
I think I'm a sports reporter.
There we go. Let's go with that.
And people keep telling me, yeah, buddy.
I think you do good at it.
Stop
really
affirming
do.
me.
Oh, okay. I won't affirm you anymore. You suck.
This is a mental health
terrible
problem.
At it. I'm trying to be nice here, and you say no. You know, I'm not mean to my producer like other talk radio
I can
hosts.
self-deprecate myself.
Yeah, I think you do a fine job with the sports over on Northwest News Radio. In fact, you got to cover all the Sonics fun today, right? A whole bunch of that stuff to cover today.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, on a day where there were no sports, you had sports news.
Finally.
It's like what my brother said years ago when they were having the steroid hearings on Capitol Hill. He goes, this is how you watch baseball in the offseason. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Up next, my friends, reparations that Washington State is paying that are completely discriminatory are now being investigated by the federal government. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Mercer Island School District has another problem with another teacher. How many is that so far this year? But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is time for your chance for KVI 2. That's right. Pay your bills and make Zach's Spotify playlist algorithm go all over the place. Because now it thinks he just wants...
No, it goes to just one singular place.
Right. They just think that Zach wants to hear Destiny's Child. Maybe some Beyonce, maybe a few other things, maybe some Jay-Z.
I just want to get y'all paid. I don't want to hear this.
Might have to find another song just to fix your playlist. Tell you what, that might actually be fun, but we'll do that after our contest, how to solve this. So all you got to do, real simple, real easy, text the word I give you, and only the word I give you. Text it to the number I give you, and only the number I give you. Do not call us with the word, because that still happens sometimes. Don't do that. Today's word is medal, as in, I just won a gold medal, not as in the stuff that you build cars out of, okay? Not that. It is the thing you wear around your neck, a medal, M-E-D-A-L, M-E-D-A-L. Text the word medal to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win $2,000 in cold, hard cash. Well, you know whose money is being investigated, my friends? That Covenant Home Ownership Program. I don't know if you've heard about this craziness. The Covenant Home Ownership Program is a race-based housing initiative that is basically government-backed discrimination and racism. That's what it is. So last night, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development launched an investigation into the program. Let's explain what this program is for a second. So a few years ago, the lefties here in Washington had the bright idea, which is, let's give reparations out to black people. Okay. And what do? They commission a study. And they say, we want to show that black people were historically discriminated against in Seattle. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on redlining. Redlining is you can live here based on your skin color. You can live here based on your skin color or ethnicity or race or religion or whatever. You can live here, you can live there. And that did happen in Seattle. It did happen in Seattle. In fact, that's why the Japanese community and the Chinese community and other Asian communities had Chinatown. That's why the Jewish community was in the Central District. That's why these things happened. Okay? So you had these issues. And they're issues. Now, mind you, nobody in the Jewish community is asking for reparations. Nobody in the Asian community is asking for reparations. But they do the survey, and all you had to do was really Google this or, go and look on Encyclopedia Britannica, and it would have come down. But they did a whole study on this. And what did it find? Yes, black people, Asians, Jews, and others had been discriminated against through redlining. So what was the brilliant solution for this? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give housing reparations in the form of we'll pay part of your mortgage to black people. And these other groups that we like, not you Asians, not you Jews, not you white people, nobody else. Nobody else gets this. Now, mind you, I'm not asking for it. But the thing is clearly discriminating based on the color of your skin. And that is illegal. Very, very illegal. You don't get to do that. But that's what they're going to do. That's what they want to try and do. So the Department of Housing and Urban Development said, yeah, no, this is a no-go. Because what the Covenant Home Ownership Program does is it selects first-time home buyers who can get a zero-interest loan to cover down payments and closing costs for a house. And by the way, we're all paying for it. Anytime you buy a house, there are fees attached to it to pay for this program that go into that. The loans do not need to be repaid until the home is sold or refinanced, and some borrowers can have the loan fully forgiven after just 5 years. Wouldn't that be nice for your kids? It's hard to live here, but you don't get that. You don't get that at all. Eligibility is determined by race and ancestry. And by the way, you don't even have to prove that your family was redlined. Instead, you just have to say, look at the color of my skin. Look at me. Look at me. Give me money. Look at the melanin count that I have. Look at me. Look at me. Give me money. Give me money. It's kind of like, I'm thinking about Parks and Rec. Money, please. The program is limited to those who are Black, Hispanic, Native American, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander, Korean, or Asian Indian. You left out a bunch of people there, didn't you? This leaves out other groups, well-documented histories of housing discrimination in Washington, including Jews, people of Chinese descent, and others, despite a state commission study acknowledging they faced egregious discrimination. Oh, by the way, it also leaves out white people. That's discrimination. Flat out. So we're going to solve discrimination by discriminating. It's ridiculous. So, in other words, the state is using taxpayer-backed funding to create a hierarchy of victims, deciding which groups are worthy of assistance and which ones aren't. The program itself is funded through a $100 fee on recorded documents, meaning Washington residents, including those explicitly excluded from eligibility, are helping to pay for the benefits they cannot receive. HUD views this as a clear civil rights problem, which it is. The agency has opened a formal investigation into whether the program violates the Fair Housing Act, which it does, which prohibits discrimination in housing-related transactions on the basis of race or national origin. You know what I find funny about this? The government always pays for airtime, no matter who's in charge of the government, be it Republicans, be it Democrats, to get their messaging out. So, until recently, you would hear the Kristi Noem ads on our station, right? If you are an illegal, we will find you, we will get you. During the Biden administration, you remember what you used to hear all the time? If you're being discriminated against, contact the Housing and Urban Development. Well, guess what? If you live in Seattle, Washington, odds are you're being discriminated against, and you should contact the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The probe follows Washington State Housing Finance Commission's adoption of a racial equity strategy plan in 2023, which laid the groundwork for race-conscious housing policies. The Covenant Homeownership Program marked the agency's first openly race-based lending initiative. HUD Secretary Scott Turner made clear the administration's stance, signaling a broader crackdown on race-based government programs, and he had the quote of the day. Here it is. DEI is dead at HUD. Those who ignore the law and violate the rights of Americans for political purposes will not continue. I will not stand for illegal racial and ethnic preferences that deny Americans their right to equal protection under the law. He added, pledging aggressive enforcement of federal civil rights laws under President Donald Trump. You know what I find funny about this? Imagine how the settlement can go. Okay, guys, you can have your Covenant Homeownership Program, but you got to open it up to everybody. Now you're going to bankrupt the state. That's number one. And also, here's the question. Do you think they're going to say, okay, well, if we open it up to everybody, we have to open it up to white people? Or do you think they're going to shut down the program? Lefty's head just exploded somewhere. Can't give money to the white people. Federal officials say the available evidence suggests the program may be engaging in unlawful discrimination. It says so on the website. If violations are confirmed, the state could face formal charges or referral to the Department of Justice. Oh, I would love this. This would be so much fun to watch. The program was approved by Democrats in the state legislature through House Bill 1474 in 2023 with backing from Representative Jamila Taylor, Senator John Lovick, and Representative Frank Chopp. Most Republicans opposed the measure, warning it would lead to legal challenges. Oh, you think? Those behind the program recognize its shortfalls, and sources previously told me that officials expected legal challenges. They knew this was going to happen. See, basically they go, I dare you to sue me, like they're doing with the income tax right now. Dare you to sue me. HUD has also ordered the commission to preserve all records related to the program as the federal investigation moves forward. This is glorious. And by the way, you know what's fun about this? There are all these other stupid discriminatory reparation programs across the U.S. This could set precedent for other legal cases about this nonsense. Oh, this is just too much fun. Zach, you want a down payment for a house? We're going to get you one. That's what we're going to get you one right now. Get you a down payment for a house. We got you covered, man. We're going to talk to HUD. We'll get you hooked up. You can be.
I have a house.
Oh, okay. You want another house? We'll get you
Sure.
another house. You don't identify as the homeowner of that other house.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we're going to go with. We're going to use lefty logic. By the way, text of the day came through before when we were talking about the how people identify. Somebody said, Ari, why don't you just identify as a press pass? Glorious text of the day. That was great. But this HUD thing reminds me of something else the Washington State Legislature refused to take up. Do you remember earlier this year, Brandy Cruz from the Undivided podcast was reporting about a whistleblower who was exposing Washington's Community Reinvestment Program, which was created in 2022, passed into law by the Democrat-led legislature and giving an annual $200 million investment. The program received another $50 million in funds from 2025 to 2027, despite a roughly $15 billion budget shortfall that resulted in Governor Bob Ferguson signing the largest tax increase in Washington state history. The funds were meant to help people of color, Black, Latin American, Native American, Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander get home and business loans, foreclosure prevention, make home repairs, and even pay off credit card debt. But what the whistleblower revealed to Brandy with a binder full of information that what they were actually doing was paying off their relatives' credit card bills, helping out their relatives before anybody else. These programs are ripe for fraud. Ripe for fraud. They claimed it was supposed to uplift communities disproportionately harmed by the war on drugs to create lasting economic benefits, build wealth, and ensure everyone has a fair chance at success. Instead, it was helping the people who had direct ties to these nonprofits and then controlled where the money went. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, there's example after example here. One person received $99,668 in funds from the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, which administers the newly created Covenant Homeownership Program, and $100,000 in community reinvestment funds from the United Housing Resources, $100,000 in community reinvestment program funds through the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, $50,000 in community reinvestment program funds through Bird Bar Place, a Seattle-based nonprofit that works to decrease economic barriers and inequities. That's a total of $350,000 to just one person that you paid for. You paid for it. And her mom was the director of financial empowerment at the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, one of the organizations that awarded her 6 figures in down payment assistance. Do you see how corrupt this is? This is why I keep saying all the time, the stuff in Minnesota, I guarantee you there is far more corruption, far more fraud going on here in Washington. Because to the best of my knowledge, they haven't done the reparations stupidity yet. Factor in how many of these stupid programs we find out about all the time. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So here's something else I got. How is it that you can pass a bill that you expect legal challenges on because you know it's illegal and still pass the bill? Where's the court system in this at all? So wait, let me make sure I got this right. You got to wait for me, Ari Hoffman, to say I was harmed by this. I got to lay out about $100,000 for a case like this minimum to go through the court system, to work all the way up to the Washington State Supreme Court, who may just spit in my face and say, no, go. But this one, you got to call in the feds. And I got to say, I was hoping the feds were going to do something like this. I actually put out the call a while ago for people who want to be plaintiffs in the case against this, and there's a few of them that are against this thing. But regarding the feds coming in, I can't believe I'm constantly the one here in Washington asking for more government involved in our lives. Because our government has gotten so out of control here, I can't believe I'm asking for federal intervention to solve something like this. This is clearly racist. It's what color is your skin? Oh, you get a housing loan. Sorry, you, whitey, you don't get the housing loan. Sorry about that. Nope, not for you. It is clearly discrimination. Clearly discrimination. And yet, they went forward with that anyway. How much can we get away with until somebody actually tries to stop us? Who's going to sue us? And the arrogance behind that, where they know they have the Washington State Supreme Court, and they know the court is going to back up their insanity, and they went forward with this anyway? That's crazy. That's crony capitalism. That's a corrupt system. And that's why the elections matter so much coming up right now. How many of you can name all the Washington State Supreme Court justices? I got a better question for you. without using any search engine or any AI program. How many of you can name one, just one, of the Washington State Supreme Court justices? Probably most of you can't. And yet 5 of them are up for election this year. 5. Do you know who's running against them? I know some of you are going to go, Dave Larson. Dave Larson is not running against 5 justices. He's running against 1. So who's running against him? If you want things to change in Washington, this election, I'm going to ask for a favor from all of you. I'm going to ask for a favor from everybody. Stop paying attention to the federal stuff. Look, if Michael Baumgartner wants a few bucks, absolutely give it to him. He's great. We love him. Okay? Help him out. Help out the races and the races we can win with Congress. But where your money really needs to go right now is here locally, for the judges. That's where your doorbelling needs to go. That's where your efforts need to go. Against the Washington State Legislature, for the initiatives. It's going to be a multi-battle front, and we got to fight it on every single one. And I know it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be exhausting, but you want campaign experience? This is how you get it. This is how you get it. But we got to focus on the judges. Too many times we don't focus on the judges. I'm downloading some files as we speak right now. The UW 33, as they're called, were formally arraigned today. Those are the ones who caused the over $1 million worth of damage over at the engineering building at the University of Washington campus. They're being formally arraigned today. The judge they're in front of is friendly to their cause. This is how much the judges matter. Now, as I'm downloading the documents, and I'll be looking at them in between commercial breaks, and we'll be discussing this at 5 o'clock today. We'll have all the details for you on this. Is that you look at the judge that could throw this case out, just like the people that shut down SeaTac Airport. You remember how many people missed flights because of that? Because these lunatics decided to shut down I-5 to SeaTac Airport? And the judge just went, yeah, no big deal. Bye. That's what they did. Who's to say that didn't happen here? Absolutely bonkers crazy. That's why these elections matter so much. And for those of you that are always saying voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud, the Supreme Court rules on the receiving your ballot by election day decision in June. And it looks like it's going to go our way. So you have no more excuses because that's before the primary. That's before the general election. You are out of excuses. I don't want to hear voter fraud anymore. I don't want to hear that. It's being dealt with. In fact, there will be an initiative about voter ID. All these things need to happen at once or we're never going to win. And I'll tell you something else. A lot of you are saying, Trump's on the ballot. If Trump's on the ballot, I mean, the Democrats are going to show up to vote against him. Yeah, but let me explain something else to you. There's a lot of Democrats who signed those initiatives. A lot of Democrats. In fact, it was 60-40 Democrat-Republican who signed the Let's Go Washington initiatives. And the voter ID has 83% approval rating in the U.S. So that means some of those people who are showing up to vote against Donald Trump are actually going to vote for voter ID and actually vote for the initiatives. This is why you have to work on getting people's name out there. And right now, none of us can name who these judges are. Except for maybe Jeff Pogillo. He knows all of them. I bet you if I asked Jeff Pogillo to come on in here and say, name me every member of the Washington State Supreme Court, he could do it. Bet you he could.
He's probably got them initials tattooed on his knuckles.
Yeah, probably true. Probably dated one or two of them. Who knows? I mean, probably did. I'm sure that he did. But either way, most of us have no idea who these people are. No clue. We get mad at them all the time. How many of you got mad at them about the car tabs and you don't even know who you're getting mad at? You don't even know. Just the Washington State Supreme Court. They're evil. This is why these elections matter so much. And for the first time I can remember since I got involved in politics, I see an actual path to victory. Really, really do. Now, I will tell you is that some people around here do not see a path to victory, especially some local sports teams, because their coach is now under investigation for being a creeper at Mercer Island High School. Tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Good grief is right, because this segment is slowly turning into which teacher got arrested today and what awful thing did they do? Now we have a story you're not going to get anywhere else. The Mercer Island School District is once again warning families about allegations involving an adult in a position of trust, the second such case in recent years, to raise serious questions about how the district identifies and responds to potential misconduct involving students. In this case, it's a former coach who is alleged to have had child pornography. In a letter to families, Superintendent Fred Rundle said the district was notified on March 20th that a former Mercer Island High School soccer coach and substitute para-educator is the subject of a law enforcement investigation involving alleged possession of really bad child pornography, which I don't feel comfortable saying on air, and possible inappropriate conduct with a minor. Yeah, again, in the Mercer Island School District. Was this the second time in 6 months? According to the letter, this person, who also coached with Bellevue United Football Club, has been barred from any further involvement with the district. The letter stated from officials that all three organizations are cooperating with the investigators. Law enforcement has not publicly detailed the full scope of the case, and the district emphasizes no indication that the alleged misconduct involved Mercer Island School District students or programs. I guess we should be thankful, given some of the stories we've done this week where it was happening on school grounds to students, not in the Mercer Island School District, and other ones in Washington State. Still, the decision to notify the community quickly reflects what Superintendent Rundle described as the seriousness of the allegations. He said, "I am incensed and frustrated. This is the antithesis of everything our district and I stand for." I guess we should be thankful that at least this time they told everybody about it, because the last one in the Mercer Island School District that we found out 6 months ago, that one was going on for years and they were covering it up. For many parents, the news lands in the shadow of the previous case that unfolded very differently. This investigation comes months after the district faced intense backlash over its handling of allegations against former English teacher Gary Chris Twombly. In that case, administrators received a tip as early as 2016 that Twombly had sent troubling messages to a student. Records later showed the warning was dismissed with little follow-up. Years later, in 2023, a former student told police she had been in a sexual relationship with this guy when she was 17. Prosecutors said they could prove the abuse occurred, but declined to file charges because the statute of limitations had expired. Twombly was placed on paid leave for more than a year before resigning in 2025 because he got a settlement of $70,000 from the Mercer Island School District. He surrendered his Washington teaching license, but remains free to work with youth outside the state. So, what happens when you surrender your Washington teaching license? We've discussed this here on the show before. What happens when you surrender your license? Well, then your records, you have to go through public disclosure to get them. So what happens is you're still in the system, but somebody who may be looking into this, it won't pop up without you filing for a public disclosure request, which could take weeks, months, even years to get these suckers back. The case sparked outrage among parents and at least one school board member who described a culture more focused on limiting legal exposure than protecting students or identifying additional victims. Unlike the Twombly case, where the district waited years to inform the public, officials moved quickly to notify the families, probably because they were worried about the backlash from the previous case. And something else is that one of you gave us this tip. One of you, one of our wonderful listeners, emailed me the letter you got from the school district. And what's crazy to me is, Zach, I haven't seen this anywhere else in the media. Nobody else has put this out today. It's on the Mercer Island School District website with the dude's name and everything. We're not going to name him because he hasn't been charged yet. And I did reach out to the Mercer Island Police Department. Haven't heard back yet. I reached out to the school district. They said the police are involved. They can't comment on it. And they said, you got this email from an internal server. And I'm like, no, I didn't. It's on your website. It's literally. So somebody sent this to me. This is the verification that we do. Somebody sent this to me. I'm like, no, they can't be this stupid. No, because you put the dude's name on the website, right? And I'm thinking to myself, you put the dude's name on the website. Are there charges? Do we know anything yet? It's all out there. And it's not through some portal. I don't have a password. I never sent my kids to Mercer Island schools of any kind. It's on the website. Now, I know you're being overly transparent, and I don't want to criticize that. But to say it came through an internal server? No, it didn't. It's on the website. This is how overboard Mercer Island School District is going to make sure they're being transparent, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And I believe this superintendent is a new one, so undoing the mistakes of the past, this is all good stuff. This is all good stuff. But it's bad that you have yet another case of this. How many of these cases do we not know about? I remember that when I used to volunteer in schools, and what my job was, I would come in for Jewish Culture Club. I would bring them donuts. That's what I would do, and occasionally falafel. So I would come in, make menorahs with them. That's the kind of stuff I would do. I had to be background checked at every single school until I was allowed near these guys. And now I'm kind of curious if a background check, if this stuff, if you surrender your teacher's license and it's under lock and key, not available unless you do a public disclosure, I assume this stuff doesn't come up in a background check. I assume it doesn't at all. You know how easy a background check is? Back when I used to identify my employees, back when I owned companies, $11. $11 for a background check. You can know everything about anybody, but they're kind of surface level. So you start looking and you start going, oh, wait a second, red flag right there. We're going to check that out. We're going to check that out. We're going to check that out. And then you figure out what's what. So it's so easy to do a background check, but they don't reveal everything. Are we now at the stage where you have to hire a private investigator to check out anybody you want to hire to make sure they're not a creeper? Personally, I think it's worth it. But given how many of these issues there are, and what do you notice? This is the third case this month with a para-educator. They target the weakest ones, or the ones where they think they can get away with it the most, where nobody will believe them. Who's going to believe the autistic kid? Who's going to believe the special needs kid? That's who they're going after, and it is absolutely reprehensible. I mean, beyond reprehensible. That's what they're doing. And how many of these cases have we had this week alone? Zach, I think every day this week we've done miseducation, and every day this week it's been not one, not two, not three of these stories, but like 4 or 5 in a segment. And they're all local, every single one. Absolutely terrifying. Oh, and by the way, those of you who say, this is why my kids don't go to public school, some private schools ain't so good about this. Some of them are not. You got to know who's around your kids. You have to know all the time. You have to protect your kids. Now, I think people may want to protect their kids from Gavin Newsom, not because of this, but because he compared himself to the guy from American Psycho. I kid you not. When we come back, this rambling, incoherent nonsense, when he's comparing himself to Christian Bale's character in American Psycho, does he really want to kill everybody? We'll talk all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. If anybody knows about being short on social media content, it's this guy. I got to keep that engine running, and sometimes I don't have anything, so sometimes I go through the best of hits. Oh, I took a picture of a homeless encampment. Let's throw it out there and get some people mad because I never posted it before. That happened yesterday. Yesterday, I'm at a fundraising dinner, and I realized, I missed the prime social media time. I don't want to miss out on the thing, so I'm like, oh, right, I took a picture of this tent in the Starbucks drive-thru today. Let's put that up there. I know I did it this morning, but, let's just, and it did what it does. Okay. Gavin Newsom did something else. Gavin Newsom posted a picture of his face cut in half, lined up with Christian Bale's. And he says, for years, so many people have been saying I look like Patrick Bateman. Wait a minute. Hang on a second. You didn't say you look like Christian Bale. You didn't say you look like Bruce Wayne. You didn't say you look like the guy who drove the car in Ford versus Ferrari. Right, Ken Miles. You didn't say that. Patrick Bateman? For those of you who haven't seen the movie American Psycho.
He's talking to me.
Yeah, okay. Zach, the movie is about Patrick Bateman, who's a rapist, murderer, serial killer. Now, I know a lot of people love this movie, and I never got why. People said, you got to watch American Psycho. You got to watch it. I watched it years after it came out. And I watched the sucker, and I go, why does anybody like this movie? I do not. It's gross, it's graphic, and look, I like a slasher film, but this, I don't understand the point of it. I don't like this movie at all. But of all the Christian, older one, where he kind of looks how he needs to for the role, if it's a drug addict or whatever, he does a lot more of that now. But you're now comparing yourself to the serial killer. And let's not forget that Gavin Newsom just murder, carjacking, and robbery, no problem. But Gavin Newsom let me go. Well, he's got the convicted felon vote. Well done. Really?
He didn't hold him back. That's what's important.
Yeah, exactly. So he's voting for Gavin Newsom.
Also, I don't think he's voting.
I was going to say, can convicted felons vote in California? I mean, I know around here they always want them to vote if they re-enter society.
If the dead can, you might as well let the murderers too, huh?
Well, I mean, we let what's-her-face, Tara Simmons vote. She's a convicted felon. We let her vote, and we let her vote on the income tax.
Every person he takes out's one more lifelong Democratic voter.
Oh, no! Very good, Zach. Very, very good. Oh, unbelievable. This one here, Dan Smith. We got great text today. Dan Smith writes, dude, the boys and I have been referring to Newsom as American Psycho for years. I like that one a lot. Okay, Matt Gilbert's trying to compete. So many people competing for text of the day, referencing our earlier discussion about the Jewish Culture Club. He said, did you sing Challah Chameleon? Very good. Very good. Very good. You guys are funny. Yeah, Gavin Newsom's having some problems. In fact, he's being called out by members of his own party. Democrat Senator John Fetterman called out Gavin Newsom for his attacks on Nick Shirley, who's exposing fraud in California. Give a listen.
Why can't you celebrate any journalist or any, activist doing that? And what, Governor Newsom put out a disgusting video implying that he's, a pedophile or he's that. Like, why? That's like kind of a smear, you want to disagree but to imply that someone in one of the most gross kinds of terms like that, it's like, hey, shouldn't we agree? Like, eliminate all the waste. If it exists under my purview, let's eliminate it. Let's call that what it is. I'm not going to call someone or imply that you're a pedophile or you're, going after kids in gross ways.
But what's crazy to me and so many other people that have seen these videos is to then see reactions from leaders in the Democratic Party saying, we don't have a problem, this is racist, this is whatever, and denouncing the reports of this. Exactly. But when you see this fraud, it angers everyone. You're spending money as a taxpayer, and then you're giving the money away to fraudsters. It should. You should be angry. And, fraud can happen on both sides, but when it's identified, I don't care if it's in a Democratic state, we should all just acknowledge maybe there is a problem here. This is part of the thing. If you tell
voters that you're wrong, or, hey, it's no problem, there's nothing here, then you lose. And now that you want to turn that into, if you want to turn that into like the border, what Democrats is in 2023, we do that at our own peril.
I wonder if this is why so many GOP candidates are running against Gavin Newsom, and he's not even running for re-election as governor. He can't. He's termed out. But basically, every single GOP candidate in California for the governor's role is only talking about Newsom, not any of their opponents, because a lot of people are just going to assume he's on the ballot. And actually, new polls are showing this might be the year for Republicans for the governor's race in California. According to Fox News, Steve Hilton, a legal immigrant and political newcomer running as Republican for governor of California, said the absolute failure on every front by current Governor Gavin Newsom and the Democrats means the GOP has a real shot at pulling off an upset in the Golden State. Though California has long since been written off by many as a progressive stronghold, the most recent polling indicates Hilton may be right. On Wednesday, Berkeley's Institute of Governmental Studies, Berkeley, definitely not in my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. I'd say probably in my little red Maoist book of the media, don't you think? They released a poll showing Hilton leading California voter preference at 17%. Another Republican, Riverside Sheriff Chad Bianco, follows at 16%. Both are Republicans ahead of the top two Democrat names, Representative Eric Swalwell and former Representative Katie Porter. They're running Mr. Fang Fang for governor, huh? Oh, that's going to be something special. I can't wait for those debates. Did you sleep with a Chinese spy? I'm sorry, did you allegedly sleep with a Chinese spy named Fang Fang? He's going to get all mad.
It's like when I got to interview him at the DNC, and I said, Representative Swalwell, what do you feel is the biggest threat facing the United States right now? And he gave some long-winded answer. And,
yeah.
The internal threats. And,
you just want him
Trump
to say China.
Yeah, when we wrapped up, as I turned away, I said, I just said China, and left.
Just got out of there with the quickness. Yeah.
You got to hustle after dropping something like that.
Yeah, especially on him. He gets really mad about that.
He's a wee lad.
A wee lad. He's tiny?
Yeah.
Really?
He's not a big dude.
Okay, so I'm not a big dude.
He's not tiny. He's
Is
just
he shorter than me or what?
No.
No?
I don't know.
Okay, he just doesn't appear as
I had just
imposing.
seen Newsom, though, so everyone was a wee lad.
Yeah, he's kind of tall.
I mean, the man's not a bad-looking dude.
No, Gavin Newsom's a good-looking guy. That's why some people may vote for him. They don't know there's a lizard person under there. They don't know you peel that skin off and the lizard man comes out.
Don't talk about Hillary Clinton like that.
She's not a lizard man. She's a lizard woman. You are misgendering the lizard, sir.
You never can be
Wait.
She could be male by vote.
Wait. Zach, you're going to get us killed. You don't know about the rule on the Ari Hoffman show. You haven't been here long enough. Anytime we mention Hillary Clinton, I need to do the disclaimer. I have no evidence that could lead to the conviction of Hillary Clinton. I have no evidence whatsoever. Hillary Clinton is a fine individual. I am very happy with my life. I am not suicidal. You have to do that anytime you mention Hillary Clinton.
I'll take my chances.
Lots more to discuss. That's going to get us in trouble as the show continues. Zach may be nuts for mentioning that, but it's clear that AOC is actually clinically nuts, and her campaign profile and reports actually show it. We'll tell you what we found in those records when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app and subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. You can also stream us at KVI.com. And if you want to see this beautiful face but receding hairline, you can also watch the video over at Facebook, X, YouTube, and over on Rumble. Well, we always knew that to be a far left person, I don't want to assume anybody's gender, you have to be completely crazy. Well, now we know that AOC is actually completely crazy. According to the New York Post, she has spent $19,000 on a psychiatrist that's known for giving you ketamine. Isn't that a horse tranquilizer? I'm pretty sure it is. Think it might be. The $19,000 was spent from her campaign coffers in 2025. Now, maybe she just needs some mental health help. And you know what? That's fine. But if he's prescribing her ketamine, that would explain some of the behavior. A little smidgen of it. Dr. Brian Boyle, chief psychiatric officer at Stella, was hired by the left-wing lawmaker in 2025. The chain of mental health clinics focused on novel treatments that are popular in Hollywood and Wall Street. She's using campaign funds for this. I think that's a big no-no. In March of 2025, her campaign paid Boyle $11,550. In May, she shelled out another $2,800. Then in October, she paid another $4,375 to the doctor, tallying up to $18,725.
Buying mental health assistance for AOC is like buying Flex Seal for the Titanic.
Very good, Zach. Very, very good. I mean, this is a woman who wears fake glasses. Let's be real about this. The expenses were marked as leadership training and consulting. They were talking about healthcare. That's what they were talking about Medicare, right? On campaign finance records, the lawmaker's campaign did not respond to requests for comment from the Post. Boyle claimed to be an interventional psychiatrist and was specialized in different unorthodox ways to treat mental health. He also claims to be the leading authority on ketamine treatment, the same drug that killed Matthew Perry. In a podcast last year, Boyle said, "I just saw the incredible power of what these treatments could do. It's a ton of fun helping patients get better. I'm sure it is a ton of fun with this kind of prescriptions." In an interview about the treatment, Boyle said that celebrities are fans of the treatment. Yes, until they die from it.
People tend to like drugs. They're very popular.
Wait, hang on. Hollywood people like drugs, celebrity like drugs.
Hold the presses.
In other news, water still wet. AOC herself has moved to make unorthodox drug treatments for therapy more accessible. Tell us more. She has proposed legislation 3 times to more closely study the impact of psycholytic drugs. Is she also the person they're experimenting on? Is that how it goes? Just
someone in the 206 said after a little ketamine, AOC is A-OK.
Man, you guys are great today. I mean, sometimes we get bad texts, and sometimes we get, okay, they're fine, but you guys are on fire today. Critics took aim at AOC for her use of campaign funds to pay for the sessions, whether ketamine was used or not. Paul Kaminer, who's the counsel for the National Legal and Policy Center, said, "Well, I can understand why AOC would spend $18,000 for a shrink whose specialties include narcissistic personality disorders. Using her campaign contributions for what appears to be an expense for personal use violates federal campaign finance laws." While she describes these expenses as leadership training, Dr. Boyle has no expertise in that area. Well, hang on. To be fair, you give somebody enough drugs, I am a golden god. I saw that movie. Unlike several Democratic campaign consultants, this looks like yet another example of misuse of campaign contributions. Wait a second. If Sean Scott can get dinged for $11,000 of haircuts, what can we do to AOC for $19,000 of ketamine prescribed? Oh, they're not ketamine itself. That might be buried somewhere else. I wonder if that's in, I don't know, the food expenses or something else. Meanwhile, she's not the only member of the squad who is having some surprising revelations that were not surprising at all. Representative Rashida Tlaib is reportedly a member of a secret Facebook group where users have posted content appearing to glorify Hamas in the wake of the October 7th terrorist massacre in Israel. The squad member belongs to Palestinian American Congress. I wonder if that's her own thing. A private, non-searchable Facebook group hidden from the public, which Fox News somehow got access to. Posts shared within the group followed a Hamas attack, which left over 1,200 Israeli civilians dead and hundreds more taken hostage, including rhetoric praising the terror group and imagery depicting Israeli victims. Okay, for those of you that aren't in Facebook groups these days, they've kind of devolved. Zach, you probably don't do the Facebook. You're too old for that, right?
I do it to buy stuff.
Okay, to buy stuff. Fair. The Facebook marketplace, where I'm sure that is not a Nigerian gentleman on the other end who's trying to rip you off, right? Sometimes.
I meet him at like Walmart.
No. There's this other scam where they'll say they paid you or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You're smarter than that. You don't fall for any of that. But the thing about these Facebook groups, I'm in a ton of them. One of my favorite ones, Back to the Future memes. I don't remember what the group is even called, but I know every day I get my Back to the Future memes and I get to check it out and I love it. It's great. Do I click like all the time? No.
I'm in one Facebook group. It's bad taxidermy.
Oh no!
It's just pictures of awful taxidermy.
Oh no! You sent me a link to that. My father-in-law.
Poor quality, poor taste.
Terrorist
you
heads
name
on the
it.
wall, whatever it is. You put that stuff up there. But yeah, this is. Look, people in Facebook groups, if you're there, you entered it for a reason. You had to click, I want to be a member of this group. You didn't just get added to the group. So you go, oh, yeah, I want to talk about terrorist attacks. Sign me up, coach. Put me in. That's basically what she did here, which is sick and twisted. I mean, really sick and twisted. In fact, actually, we found out more. Do you remember the name Imran Siddiqui? Imran Siddiqui? He's the head of CARE locally, the Council for American Islamic Relations. That was almost a fun swap there. Okay, American Islamic Relations. You know, the guys who are linked to terrorist groups? Yeah, he's running for office again. You know who endorsed him this time? Rashida Tlaib. Now you have somebody who has links to terror, who's endorsed by Rashida Tlaib, running for Congress again. Again. We'll get more information on this guy. We'll get more information on this report. We got a lot of digging to go into this because I got to tell you, the amount of crazy that's out there, maybe they need more ketamine and they won't want to be terrorists. I don't know. If it just makes them crazy and not terrorists, we can do that. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Breaking news for you. The 33 people involved in the vandalism of University of Washington for over $1 million were arraigned today. We've got the updates for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, you want to get paid to protest in Seattle this weekend? We'll tell you how to do it. But before we get to any of that, we got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
The 33 activists who, I can't believe I have to say allegedly, who took over the engineering building at the University of Washington, causing an over $1 million worth of damage to the building that wasn't even open yet, were arraigned a little while ago today. They've been charged with criminal trespass, which is a gross misdemeanor. They are not facing felony charges tied to property damage because prosecutors say there's not enough evidence specifically linking any of them to that crime. Now, this has bothered me from the beginning. Let's drill down a little bit more here. There were no cameras in the building, which I find hard to believe. So you don't have the body camera footage from the police officers who arrested them. You come into the room and they've destroyed brand new equipment that isn't even out of the boxes yet. They destroy brand new equipment that's ready to go to train engineers. Now, I'm sure the activists would be happy about this, but you think Boeing wants to sponsor a school where their equipment gets destroyed? You think Boeing wants to stay in a place where they get protested all the time, which they do? Literally, they had a conference last week, and the radical activists showed up to protest Boeing. Yeah, let's get another business out of here. You protest Boeing enough, they're going to take whatever's left here and get out of here, just like Starbucks did. Well, these 33 lunatics, you've got a mix of them. You've got students, you've got Antifa activists, anti-Israel activists, pro-Hamas activists, and then this one here, faculty? Wait a second. Some of them are faculty? Now, in my previous research, I didn't recognize any of them as faculty, but I think I have to do a deeper dive on the University of Washington website. Let's go over what happened. In May of last year, these activists show up at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They go into the building. They barricade the doors. So they use the furniture that's in the building to barricade the doors. They load in supplies for themselves out of a minivan with a clearly identifiable license plate. Everything was perfectly fine before they went in. I don't know why you can't charge them with conspiracy. I don't know why you can't charge them with that. But the problem is that as soon as those press releases came out of they're not charging them with felonies, you literally handed the case to the defense. Because if you can't prove that they committed the felonies, how can you prove they committed the trespassing aside from the fact the police officers took them out of the building? Oh, well, they were supposed to disperse and they didn't disperse. In fact, according to Como News, their own defense attorney, one of them said, no explanation of who wrote this report, how they came to know the information in the report, or what they did or didn't personally observe. Well, do you know why no police officer is going to put their name on it? Because then they get targeted by the activists who caused $1 million worth of damage, who are clearly violent psychos. Quote, there's no allegation or evidence demonstrators broke in. I'm sorry, what? They barricaded the doors. They trapped a staff member. They broke the equipment. They vandalized the building. They said the door was open because this is a public institution. There's also no indication of where each individual demonstrator, later alleged to be inside the building, got into the building. So what you're saying is the ones wrapped in the keffiyehs and the Antifa gear are not actually guilty of trespass? Is that the direction you're going? Basically, it was handed to them by the King County prosecutors and University of Washington. Because if you say you can't prove all these other charges, how are you going to prove these? Now, mind you, they were found in the building, which was destroyed. But they could just say, yeah, it's a public building. I came in here. I didn't stack those chairs. I wasn't one of the activists. I like to dress in black bloc. I like to dress in keffiyehs. Now, we have all their names. I put them on social media before. But they had previously been suspended and then allowed back on campus. And this was infuriating, beyond infuriating. You know they caused all this damage, but according to your student code, you allowed them back on campus. They were basically sentenced to time served with their suspensions. They don't have to pay anything back. They're not expelled. Last weekend, on Sunday, I had the opportunity to interview the president of the University of Washington, Robert Jones. It was very nice of him to come out to my synagogue and talk to the Jewish community. Packed room. Absolutely packed room. Lots of people there. Lots of bagels. We had a good time with the Einstein Brothers bagels. It was nice. And we had a whole discussion. And one of the questions I asked him was, dude, I said this nicer, of course, 33 people, most of them students, were charged. They were charged in this. They were charged with misdemeanor criminal trespass, which is a gross misdemeanor. And yet they're allowed back on campus. And I'd asked them this question right after I'd asked them a question about Jews feeling safe on campus or anybody else who supports Israel feeling safe on campus. And he said that they are working on redoing the student conduct handbook so that you can at least kick these guys off campus. So during this town hall, which was called Combating Anti-Semitism on Campus, at a synagogue with a bunch of partner organizations, he said, our student conduct code was not written for this moment in time. It does not allow us to hold people accountable for the kind of conduct we're now seeing on campuses. Now, you know what my problem with this is? How long ago was this thing written? You didn't decide to redo it in the 60s when you had all the sit-ins and everything else? Maybe the hippies are more peaceful. Maybe they didn't vandalize stuff as much. The review, now underway with outside experts, according to Jones, is expected to lead to significant change in how the university disciplines students involved in disruptive or destructive protests. 33 of the activists now face formal charges of first-degree criminal trespass. He said to go into a brand new facility and do the damage that was done is just something I have trouble getting my arms around. What was the intentionality? What was supposed to be achieved by that? He actually told me. Well, he had a very personal moment when we were having this discussion. You can see the entire interview up on my YouTube page. It's there. The audio is not great, which is why we're not playing it on the show. But you can see the entire interview up there on my YouTube page, The Ari Hoffman Show on YouTube. If you just find Ari Hoffman, that's my personal one. And there's videos of my kids, and they're adorable, but you don't need to see that. Go to the Ari Hoffman official YouTube page. Give me a subscribe while you're over there. You can see this entire interaction. You know what he told me? He said one of the most disappointing days as the president of UW was he hadn't even formally been announced for the job yet. But the former president, Anamari Cauchi, called him, knowing, however, Hoochie Coochie, whatever her name is, I don't even know. They called her, she called him and told him what had happened. And he was basically heartbroken by it. Brand new engineering building given by a major corporate donor, and these lunatics just destroyed it. Oh, and by the way, they're your students? Yeah, I can imagine that being a bad day. He added that while protesting is a staple of campus life, the schools must still enforce rules and protect students. Quote, I expect people to protest. I expect people to abide by university policies. Now, I kind of really want to know why you could just let them keep on campus. And he said the university imposed the maximum penalties available under current rules. So that's up to the prosecutors. And guess what? King County prosecutors declined to prosecute on felony charges. I truly believe the University of Washington Police Department blew the investigation. The University of Washington Police Department, what are they designed for? Somebody stole my bike. Somebody's got a keg in a dorm room. I lost a purse. I lost a wallet. That's what they're designed for. They were not equipped to handle this. Could have called out the National Guard. Instead, they called out the National Guard to protect the encampment on campus. So he says there was nothing more we could do based on the limitations of the student conduct code itself. What's crazy to me is you can't kick these kids off campus over $1 million in damage, and you can't kick them out of campus. What do you get kicked out of campus for? Because there's some people on campus, I think, that have other convictions. I mean, aside from this kind of stuff and you let them on campus, what can you actually be kicked out of the campus for? I need to do another deep dive into the student handbook. Zach, you ever know anybody who was kicked out of University of Washington?
I do not.
You do not. See? So, there. I knew one person who got kicked out of college.
I felt like my friends and I tried.
Yeah. I knew one person who got kicked out of college, and it was grades. Eventually, it was just, dude, you literally flunked out of college.
My favorite stat at one point was looking at, like, you know, what college costs and then, like, what the legal fees and the security fees the UW ended up having to pay for all of our stuff.
Yeah.
And it cost the UW money for me to go there.
That's very good. That's very, very good. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Gerald in Federal Way. Gerald, what's going on?
Yeah, turns out I helped install a few things in that building, in the UW building. It was a nice building. But anyway, I was wondering when you were calling child care places last week to check for fraud, if you were faked out by a recording of children laughing and playing in the background. Possibly.
No, I don't think it was that. I mean, you could tell the difference between one and the other. There were some that are actually legit. I mean, what I was doing was I was going down the list of who gets government funding. right? Which was a list somebody gave me. There are going to be legit daycares. There are, okay? And you know what? There will be even some legit Somali daycares. But these guys aren't that slick. Because what happened anytime Nick Shirley showed up at these places? He shows up and there's no kids there. I mean, at least bring your own kids to make it look good or something. Don't cover the windows, right? But, I mean, we had Malia from the National Review on yesterday when we were talking to her. And we had her on, and what did she say? When you called some of these places, you got a recording for you may have won fantabulous prizes. Now, I don't think they were calling the Ari Hoffman show when they were calling that, when we give away fantabulous prizes. But literally, these people have multiple jobs where now they're also phone scammers. So, no, I don't think I was faked out by that. I mean, I had real conversations, and also my follow-up questions were always, I want to enroll my kid. Can I see your website? The websites for these places are terribly designed because you go to them, the fraudulent ones, they always are missing the hours, or there's no click here to register. Did you ever see the movie Accepted, Gerald?
No.
Okay. Teenage garbage movie. Came out about 15 years ago. But what's funny is these kids don't get into any colleges, so they create a fake college so their parents will think they're going to a real college, but they make all the links clickable. So like 200 kids sign up to come to their fake college and they all get accepted. That's the joke behind it, right? They're not even that slick. So, no, I don't think I was faked out by that. And just to be sure, the ones that sounded a little fishy, I sent some people to check out. We've got a little Doge army checking these things out for us. But I do appreciate that you considered that possibility.
I have one more thing there. It's, last week, Friday, I didn't have a chance to call in. I was fighting communism this week. But why would we want non-citizens to be police officers, prosecutors, and public office holders when we do have Americans who will fill the jobs? So might as well skip the transition through non-citizens and solve two problems at once. When people get out of prison, plug them into these jobs. After all, prisoners will need jobs, and who knows time better than prisoners. And many public officials are already criminals anyway, so just get to the chase. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I think that's a way to go. That's a way to go. You got people looking for jobs right away. Let's just do that. Let's solve that problem. You're funny.
Boss said, illustrating the absurd with the absurd.
You're funny, Gerald. Very, very good. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here, hey, Ari, real quick. I'm in the mental health industry over on the text line, and AOC is not tripping on ketamine. It's S-ketamine, which is an extremely low formulated dose of highly regulated by the DEA. In order to even get in the program, you have to jump through a boatload of hoops, such as previously proving multiple drug trials failed. In addition, it's used to treat major depressive disorder. It's definitely not rave in the clinic. Her using campaign funds for it, though, yeesh. Wait a minute. This person did not give me their name. I do not vouch any of this is accurate. I am not allowed to give medical advice on the show. But if what this person just said to me is true, major depression disorder, it's treating that? And you would have had to fail other drug trials? What is this woman on? This might explain a lot. This might actually explain a lot. But yeah, that's kind of what it is right there, isn't it? Kind of what it is. Yeah, this isn't going away anytime soon for AOC. I mean, I know the lamestream media is ignoring it, but this is a real thing that people need to look into. The other thing is the activists at UW that we were talking about just a minute ago. If you look at the social media accounts for the activist group they're affiliated with, they think these nonsense charges of criminal trespass are too much. You got away with vandalizing the building. You got away with no responsibility for that whatsoever. But now they want their tuition refunded that they lost out on for when they were suspended. And they don't even want these charges to stick around. One of these judges' names, Dylan, sounds familiar for some reason. I can't remember if this is the one who was in charge of the lunatic activist case and released all the ones or got rid of the charges for all the ones that blocked I-5 or something else. This name is ringing a bell. See, this goes back to my earlier point where we don't know the judges as well as anybody else. You say, somebody used ketamine. I go, we talking about Matthew Perry or are we talking about AOC? You say that, we know that right away. And yet I don't even remember the details on this judge. Now I have something to research after the show today. Who is this judge? The name is setting off all kind of alarms in my head. Not the other one. There were two judges because there were 33 defendants. but they're all there today, and they're literally using the arguments of the King County prosecutor and University of Washington for why they shouldn't be charged. Bonkers crazy. Bonkers crazy. I don't know. I mean, basically, you gave a free pass to anybody who wants to vandalize the University of Washington at any time. Well, if there's no cameras in the building, we can't prove it. Do we have video of every murder or assault that happens? Or you just place them at the scene, that's enough? Here, you placed them at the scene. Why couldn't we figure out some kind of conspiracy charges? They did this together. They acted as a group. Links to Antifa. Antifa was there. Antifa took credit for it. Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization. Why couldn't you hit them with any of that? Nope, none of that. Didn't go down any of those roads. Not that creative. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Peter in Ording. Peter, what's going on?
How's it going? I was calling, so while I don't know, it wouldn't get gotten her kicked out, but my wife, during COVID, they were going to withhold her degree for not getting the COVID shot.
Oh, yeah, I remember those kind of things. You remember they weren't giving people transplants for organs? They weren't giving them other medical treatment if you didn't get the jab? You remember that nonsense?
Oh, that was my wife's grandmother couldn't get a pacemaker replaced because of that.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. We are so concerned about your health, we're going to deny you an organ or a pacemaker. That's how concerned we are about your health. We're going to stop you from getting life-saving care. Oh, crazy stuff.
But she couldn't attend classes, and they'd withhold her degree for doing online classes because they weren't offering in person anyway.
Shut your face. Really?
Yeah, she's a teacher now, and she had to get the jab anyway because Inslee said they wouldn't hire you as a teacher, and if she was going into her, she was finishing up her master's.
So wait a second. It's remote classes, but she won't get the jab. And, man, it was people are going to study this years from now, assuming common sense ever comes back to the planet. People are going to study this and go, how crazy were they back then?
But yeah, no, it was remote only classes anyway, and but they wouldn't allow her to either sign up for the class, and they were going to deny her degree for not getting the jab.
Wow. Everybody's lost their minds. Lost their minds.
I know.
Peter, thanks for sharing that with us. That's crazy. I hadn't heard that one yet. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate the call. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We just got a text from Robin Lakewood, and I was actually going to end with this, so this is a perfect segue. It says, what about federal charges for the UW 33? Federal charges might be the way to go. Are we going to have to ask for federal intervention again? By the way, I did send a whole bunch of the stuff to the Justice Department when it was first released. I haven't heard back. They usually get back. Look, it's a big country. There's 330 million people? They got a lot of people to talk to. They're a little busy right now. But if they get back to me, when they get back to me, I'm going to send them today's court documents too. And say, hey, guys, haven't heard back from you for a while. Would you like all this too? Maybe we should contact our friends over at Harmeet Dillon's office. Didn't even think about that. Let's hit them with civil rights violations. Boom, shakalaka. Whole bunch of racism those guys had going on. Yeah, let's do that. Dan Smith says, what about their fingerprints? They were wearing gloves. DNA? Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong, but it seems like UW PD isn't exactly up to the task. Does UW PD have a crime lab? I think at most they have a breathalyzer. Maybe. Right, Zach? Do you even know? Did you have any interact? You have no idea. Why would you? You're a good kid. You wouldn't know.
It was always on the logistics end for people trying to hurt me.
Coordinating it. That's great. That event I went to last night, there's security guards all over the place, but they're dressed in plain clothes. They're not visible. So I'm shaking hands with a few of them, and they're like, wait a second, what'd you say your last name was again? I'm like, yeah, that. And okay, we made some new friends last night. It was really great. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including, you want to get paid to be a protester? I don't know, maybe destroy a building at University of Washington. We're going to tell you how to do it because now apparently you can to be part of the No Kings protest this weekend. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.